their own thing. So these are just what worked for me, and you can take it and apply it accordingly. So before we get too much into that, we'll start with the recap. So it's going to be some pop quizzes for you. Hopefully it's kind of getting a little bit grainy for us, but real quick, let's start with, you know what? Let's go with Mr. John Wolf.
No.
What is this right here? Man, I love it. Okay. All right. And then let's go, Nathan. What's this? Man, I love it. Okay. Mr. Lincoln, what are these here? Ridges. You guys are killing the game. I love it. All right. And what is this? That is fascia. But what kind of edge is this also? Two-part, two question. And then, pardon the gesture. This like let me Vanna White this properly, right? So pretty much covers the basics. Oh no, one more. What are these little deals here? Yes. Very nice. So would this roof be a good qualifier for a ridge vent?
Can't really tell. We need about 15 feet, 25 feet.
The feet is based off of how many squares the roof is.
Half the length of the roof.
Correct. Yeah. So ventilation you need does depend on the size of the roof. And if you go to GAF, which on our GAF tool that we have that you guys will get access to, there's actually a measurement. You can type in, this many squares, and it's on their website and it gives it to you. So this one here is honestly right on the line of ridge vent being good or not. I would say as long as you ridge vent everything, it would actually be really good, because in a lot of scenarios, you're not going to be able to cool this part of the house or this front part of the house any other way. Because on the front of the house, you're not going to put turtle vents, right? You never put vents in the back. And that's why when I told you guys a story yesterday, it was a situation similar except for it's a two-story. And this part of the roof had never been vented, AKA that room had never been vented. And that's when their kids were like, hey, I noticed a better. So yeah, you want to just make sure that if you can get enough of a horizontal plane vented, that's your best way to go. And in a lot of times, in a lot of houses like we're going to see here in Oklahoma and Texas, there's going to be a lot of these designs where you'll have those front rooms, or sometimes you'll even have two front rooms like that, where ridge vent's the best just because it's the only way you're going to vent that section, unless they want to put turtle vents on the side, aka the front of their house. And people typically won't. You'll find the husbands that go, absolutely, and the wives, I don't want that there. And then you create an argument between the two of them, and then you don't get anything sold. So yeah, that's right on the borderline. As long as you're putting vents here and here, I would do it. If you're only putting on the top, yeah, ridge vent's not the best way to go. Make sense? Okay. All right.
Why would you not put them where you could put them and not the rest of the house?
Don't want to pay for it. So if ridge vent isn't currently on a home, it does cost more money. Okay, because you actually have to go in at the top. You have to cut an inch gap on either side of that entire ridge. So there's more labor involved. But it's going to be way better. The $1,000 you spend on average in installing a ridge vent is going to more than pay for itself just in one summer, depending on how well it was vented beforehand. Now, if it already has ridge vent, then it's no additional cost. It's just part of it. Make sense? Okay. So we're going to talk about what I call the pitch. Okay. So once again, putting up some killer movies. If you haven't seen any of these movies, they're great sales movies. I would highly recommend them. But the pitch is going to be the second most important part of the entire sales process, in my humble opinion. The first part being, talked about this yesterday. No, it's the most important part of the sales process. Close. But that's just something you have. It's not necessarily something between you and the homeowner. Talked about yesterday. It's the number one rule. Comes first. Put a little Boomer Sooner logo on the bottom. The inspection. Inspection is the number one thing you're going to do at the home, okay? The number two thing you're going to do is the pitch. And if you do those two things right, you never sell again for the rest of the time. And I say never sell again, speaking of majority of what you do is going to be insurance, which the majority of it's going to be a 3 to 5 week process. So to sell on the first day and never have to sell again, that's pretty solid, okay? But if you're doing that, you're making more money, promise you. So what is the pitch? So I put this up here. You guys have seen that sell me this pen. I actually despise that, okay? Because those are teaching you tricks. I don't like tricks. I like truthful information, which is why we start with your knowledge, and that's why you do a phenomenal inspection, okay? When you do a phenomenal inspection, you now get to sell like a doctor, okay? So I'm going to give you a reason, or an example rather, of how the majority of the roofing industry sells. So Lincoln, come up here with me real quick. We're gonna have you be a Vanna White for a second. Okay. So real quick, is there like any have you ever had a rotator cuff problem or a knee problem? Has there been like any major injury that you've had over the years?
Take your pick, hernia surgery or Achilles.
Okay, all right. So let's go with hernia surgery. Okay. This is how typically we sell in the roofing world. So you're a doctor, or I'm a doctor, you come in, hey Lincoln, how you doing, man? So here's the deal. Your copay is really good. So it's only going to cost you $50. We're going to go ahead and cut you open and give you a hernia surgery. Does that sound good?
I don't know.
You don't tell him why he needs it. We don't explain it to him. We don't let him know there is no other option. Just like, hey, because I can get you a deal, we're going to cut you open. That's how the pitch goes, and the majority of what we do as roofers. We're like, insurance is going to make this real cheap, so we're going to get you a new roof. So when you hear me to say sell like a doctor for the rest of the day, which you're going to hear a lot of, that's what I'm referring to. So appreciate you. Thank you, Vanna.
No problem.
You don't get paid as well as her, I don't think, but
Sadly,
she is a little cuter. I'll give you, okay, all right, right. So I want you to keep that in mind. That seems like an exaggeration, but it really truly isn't. That is genuinely how the majority of us sell when we sell our insurance jobs. Well, excuse me, by we. That is not how we sell. That is how the majority of the industry sells. Okay? So what is the pitch? What am I talking about? Again, we are not going to do it this way because we are better than that. We are professionals. The pitch is the sale that comes right after you get down from the roof. So you just did your inspection, which takes about 30 to 40 minutes. You are now getting down. You are going to begin everything from this point is what I call the pitch, okay? So from the way you come down, the way you put up your gear, the way you approach it, and we're going to get into that step by step by step, and we're going to role play it a bunch tomorrow. So future note, tomorrow, I'll role play. It's the weirdest, strangest, most awkward thing that I actually absolutely despise with every fiber of my being, hate it, but it's super important. It really is. So the pitch is where you prove all that you just told them. It's where you prove that you're a professional, okay? So in other words, when the doctor tells you why you need your hernia surgery, or tells you this is what happened and this is the only option, like if he's going to cut you open, you need to believe him and believe in his confidence. Once again, don't go in this thinking just because we can save them a bunch of money with their insurance company. Like, you still need to establish whether or not they need a roof. And once again, to be clear, if they don't need a roof, they don't need a roof. And if they do need a roof, I don't care how it gets paid for. That is not the important part. It is not insurance is going to save you money. It is a matter of you need a roof. Do we establish that? Do we ignore this? Cool. Now let's talk about how we can help you. So don't go into the how we can pay for it before we discuss the fact that it's needed, okay? Because throughout this process, if they don't first truly believe that they need one and understand the benefit of getting it, the rest of it will not matter and you will continually struggle to keep them on board, okay? So when you do this right, You will never sell them through the rest of this process. And again, 3 to 5 week process, you're just going to be telling them what happens. You're going to be leading them. So you want to do this so well, you know, when you walk away, they are sold, they want a roof, they're using you. The rest of it is you're just telling them how this goes. Make sense? Okay. So this is where, and I talked a little bit about it yesterday. When you come down, when your pitch starts, all you're doing is telling a story. Okay? Because you took photos, and by the way, what's the minimum photo requirement? 75. I mean, if it's a big home, it's going to be considerably more, right? Because it has more sides. So you just took 75 photos, and you didn't take them just so you could fit 75 photos. You took them because it takes that much to look at everything properly, to tell the story. So now you're just telling a story, right? When you're telling someone a story about, first time you and your wife met, or whatever the case may be, you're not trying to sell anybody. You're just telling them something that happened. That's all this is. That's what your pitch is. You are telling the story of your inspection and what you found. And in all of our friend groups, so who's the guy in your friend group that really sucks at telling stories?
Yeah, John Cook.
Okay, good. So if you had to hesitate, that means it's you. So I'm glad that it's not. That would have made me concerned. So you're not the bad storyteller. That's good. So what is it about your bad storyteller? Like he either goes on too long, or he gives too much detail, or he gives you no sense of emotion as to what's like, just all the things, right? You don't want to be a bad storyteller when you come down. On the flip side, who's the good storyteller in your group?
A good storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's a good storyteller.
You were supposed to say you. Just
I do the best.
so, but same deal, right? Like, does he paint a picture, gives you enough information? Like, perfect image of a bad storyteller. I was talking to my mom the other day. Probably shouldn't send her this video now. But anyways, she tells me what is literally a 5-minute story for an hour and a half. Like, I knew 5 minutes in where the story was going. Like, she literally gave way too much detail. I'm like, stop it, right? Versus my wife tells amazing stories. Unless they're about me, they're all falsehoods.
We need that.
Yeah, you knew she was a liar. So, simple rules. So, just like you guys have heard me say repeatedly, there is no such thing as the one perfect thing to say to a homeowner. However, there are the things you absolutely should not say. Okay? Where most roofers, aka not us, because we're studs, they're going to go in and talk about damage. Now, why would doing nothing but talking about damage be a bad thing?
Because if the insurance doesn't see it that way, or they disagree.
Okay. I mean, that's a true statement, but no. What am I looking for? If you just go in and tell, because you probably think, well, if they don't think they have damage, they don't replace the roof, right? So why is doing nothing but talking about damage a bad thing? Better question. Why do you think most roofers talk about damage so much?
Just like we do the insurance.
Right. So we talk about damage because damage means the insurance company pays for it, right? So like, hey, because once again, everybody just wants to go actually talking about whether or not they even have a problem, right? So just like they skip over like, hey, because you got a good copay, we're going to cut you open. Now, there's a couple things. One, you don't ever establish, when all you do is talk about damage, you don't actually ever establish their need. Okay? And what you do that you're not realizing, you're making the insurance company the hero. So the damage is there, and because of the damage that's there, my insurance company pays for it. Why do I need you again?
Doesn't set you apart at all.
Right? But it doesn't give them a reason to need you at all. Like, who are you? The damage happened because of Mother Nature, and then insurance is going to take care of me. What are you doing? Right? So, am I saying you're never going to acknowledge damage? Absolutely. But maybe 2% of your time, maybe, should be talking about damage. Okay? You'll show them that they have it, and then you're talking about many other things. And we'll get into that as far as the other things we're going to talk about. But that's why what is important is explaining the what's in it for them. Okay? Damage is not what's in it for them. The insurance company giving them a discount or buying half their roof or whatever, that's not what's in it for them. That's what's in it for their pocketbook, but that's not what's in it for them. We've all heard the saying, you need a roof over your head, right? So we need a roof over our daggum head. So we already established yesterday all the reasons that a roof may or may not need to be replaced. We're going to talk about those. And then during our good inspection, when we see things that maybe aren't on the home currently that we're going to put on that would maybe prevent the type of problem that they're having, that's going to talk about it. So like where some guys will go wrong is they'll start talking about what's in it for them. They won't talk about damage. They'll be like, we're going to put drip edge on your house. Are you going to explain to them what the crap that means? Like, what is drip edge? Why does it benefit me? Et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So we're going to talk about, and this is a very key thing right here that everybody overlooks or doesn't understand the importance of or thinks I'm wrong. You need to talk about something that's not the roof. Good, bad, or otherwise. Something that doesn't even pertain to the roof. Now, you've taken 75 photos, you start on the bottom. You should have lots of things to talk about that is not about the roof. Why do I say that? Why do I say you need to talk about something that's not the roof? Okay.
They expect you to talk about the roof, so you're going above and beyond if you talk about something else.
Fantastic. It shows that you actually care, that you're not just, when I talk about this isn't about you, what's in it for them, and all you do is talk about the roof. You're not showing that with your actions. Cool, you said it with your words, but your actions by not talking about the roof, by saying, oh, hey, actually, so your chimney right here looks phenomenal. Something I'm almost always going to talk about if they have a chimney is the condition of the chimney. Why? Because 99.99% of the times when you do a roof, you're going to see some kind of issue around a chimney. I've almost never torn off a roof and not had to replace some decking around the chimney. Just what they have to go through by inherent nature, even if it's all done and built well, like it's going to have some water that it's holding. Or I don't know how many times I've actually gotten on a roof and I saw like a hole for an animal on the backside of the chimney. Obviously not if it's brick, but if it's siding, right? Like I've had holes in their chimney and they never even knew it. Why did they not know it? Well, when was the last time you got up on your roof, walked to the back of the chimney and go, all right, my chimney's gonna get, you don't, nobody does that. I'm a roofer and I had to completely rebuild my chimney and I didn't do that. We went to go put on a roof and I was like, you know what? I should probably check some of these things out that I tell guys to check out all the time. And I was like, well, crap. I come down and told my wife, I was like, well, we're rebuilding the chimney and half of our siding. She's like, what? I'm like, yep. She's like, how did you not know? Well, it's because I look at houses all day, every day, and I don't want to look at my house when I get home. I just want to sit down and eat food, right? So they're not going to look at it. And maybe it's not the chimney you talk about. Maybe it's something else, but it needs to be something that is not the roof because it proves you're not just there. And it's subconscious. They don't even realize it, but subconsciously, they're going, okay, this guy, you know, he really just kind of spent 2 seconds on the roof. He just talked about what I do. Like, it just builds a confidence in you that is most time even unknown to them. They just start to get this really weird trust you vibe, right? And as they should. If you're doing all the things accordingly, that is what they should feel, okay? And as far as chimney goes, like on a brick, what you want to look for is breaking the grout or at the top of it where it's going to be like either a concrete or some kind of grout top, like make sure that it doesn't have a bunch of cracks in it. Because if it's got cracks in it, it can leak, right? Now, do we do that? No. But you're standing right in front of it. Why not talk about it and show them pictures of it, okay? So you need to talk about who we are as a company as well as who you are. So when you're talking about the company, our Google reviews are going to be something really important. The fact that we've been around since 2010 is going to be important. And then the products we use and how we build is going to be important. But how do you talk about you? Which is actually way more important. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that looked at the roof. You're the one that's talking to him. You're the one that's making all the promises. So cool, the company's the company, but what if you suck at your job? Right? So you can't go in there and basically pull a Marcus like you've seen me pulling this whole time. I'm great, I'm athletic, because they're lies. But nonetheless, you gotta, the best way to do this is to tell stories. So throughout this and throughout the rest of this time, you're gonna hear me tell stories. Like, you can use that. You can see, well, we have seen this. Like, you are part of the collective we now. So telling stories is the best way to let them know who you are. And in telling their story of their house is also the best way. So you do want to tell them about you, but it's kind of in a sly, weird way. So don't forget about it, because it's massively important. Okay. So, and this is another one of my wife's favorite. Be who you is, because if you ain't who is you, you is who you ain't. She likes it. Because at the end of the day, as a matter of fact, I just got a text from a homeowner today asking for a concrete guy. And they're like, hey, do you do concrete? I'm like, no, I don't do. No one has ever taken care of us the way you have taken care of us. So I'm going to ask you first. And I was like, well, hey, use this guy who I know and trust. They said, well, I'll trust you for that. Like, they didn't say first priority. They didn't send a message to first priority. And during all this, when we build a roof, when we do something, their homeowners are going to get a lot of contact from the office, from the production team, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I still want my customers calling me when it's all said and over, right? And that's how you know that you did this part right. And the majority of the time, my homeowners, I can say almost always, reach out to me before reaching out to the company. So that's a good sign. If they reach out to the company before you didn't do a good job of selling you. Okay? So, questions. And I'm not asking for your questions right now, unless you do have some. You guys all tracking? You all following so far? Back one slide.
While we are building your roof.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we're talking about the way we construct a roof.
Yeah. So some good little. That's a good point. I kind of skipped some of this. So this right here, when you see the super pro tip and talk about while we're building your roof, and you're going to see me do this a lot tomorrow when we do our role playing. A really cool thing that you can do. It's real subtle, but it's a real pro move. Is when you're explaining something. So let's say like they don't have drip edge currently. You can say, while we're building your roof, we are going to install drip edge. And the reason we install drip edge is because right now, you know that spot on your fascia where you have a little bit of rot? Having that drip edge is going to keep from rot growing and building. Basically, it's going to make your fascia last 10 times longer. And then also this problem you have in your chimney right here, it's actually from this flashing kind of being bent up and bowed out. Whenever we replace your roof, we're actually going to install new flashing right here. And then we're also going to put ice and water underneath that flashing, which it doesn't look like you have right now. And we do these things, and that's why we know the roof is going to last so long. And that's why we actually offer a lifetime labor warranty. And to my knowledge, I've never ran across another roofing company that does that. Not saying no one does, but I don't know of another company that does lifetime labor. And the reason we do that is because of the way we build. We know you're not going to have any issues. And if you guys have the question of what do most roofing companies do, on average, 3 to 5 years is all roofing companies offer for labor.
Does that cause suspect over the material? So you can afford to give me lifetime labor, but you won't cover the shingles that you.
That's still covered by a manufacturer. So I can't make anything last longer or anything from the manufacturer standpoint. And the reason we offer lifetime labor is because I'm going to build a roof in a way that the only thing that's going to affect it is if, a tornado comes and rips it apart, or hail comes and beats it up. Like, a weather event is going to be the only thing that affects my roofing system. And the reason I do that, because in all honesty, if you're going to have a problem, you're going to have it within the first 5 years, which is why most roofing companies do the way they do it. So it's like, well, if I know the problem's going to come more than likely in the first 5 years, why not just keep it going? So I know I don't want to get calls all the time for going out, because like the monsoons we've been having here, like it's the first time I've seen the sun like in 3 weeks. I didn't know it still existed. It felt like I was in Seattle, but not as pretty. But anyways, squirrel. We're going to build them in a manner that we're going to protect all the penetrations with flashing and ice and water. So the way we build them, we know we're not going to have any issues. And then the other reason we started switching to lifetime, Josh said, Josh will tell you, like, the first time, like 8-9 years later, that we're getting calls on leaks, we're taking care of it for free anyway. So why not advertise it? Like, if you're gonna do it anyway, you might as well use it as a selling point, right? So any more questions before I move on? Nope, all good? Okay. So questions, and again, not questions for you guys. When you see a homeowner having a face of, I got some questions, you better freaking ask them, do you have any questions? So you guys have seen me do it countless times before I move on. Sometimes I'm just going to stop and ask questions because I know I've jammed a bunch down your throats. Or I'm looking at your faces and I'm thinking, this face has a question. Now, ways not to do this. Hey, so you have any questions? Like, people just kind of take that as, hey, do you want fries with that? Like, it needs to be, hey, John, I can clearly see you got something you want to ask it. Because if they have a question and you don't make them tell you, guess what happens? They don't sign with you, and that question that they didn't ask you is going to be the very first question that they ask the next guy, and that's going to be the only question they want answered, and if he answers it, he wins. So ask the question, do you have any questions? And you'll see me, if you guys are in a sale with me, you'll see me ask it 100 times if necessary. We're going to get into the different kinds of homeowners, but when you're dealing with a homeowner that we call an owl, the guy who is what I call the Subaru driving, Apple computer operating, Starbucks drinking, reviewophobe, I'm going to ask that guy 562,000 times, do you got any questions? Because that old boy's got some questions. I promise you. On the flip side, on a bulldog wants to know, how's it work? Can you do it? Good. Move on. So you got to know your audience, right? So the biggest thing right here, and you guys are going to hear this, and you've probably heard this in the sales world, especially, former door knocker, right? Door knocker again, is trusting you, or do you have a good rapport with the homeowner? How many times have you heard that? Okay. I want to up the ante. Do they believe you? Okay. There's a huge difference between trust and believe. So, an example of a difference. Say you're working with a homeowner and they trust you, and it comes down to contracting day. They may trust that you can do what you say, but they don't believe that they truly need it and that you are the best for the job. That is the difference. So if they trust you, what it may look like is, cool, get a couple other quotes. They're saying that because they think that you are going to do what you say you're going to do, but it's possible that they get a better deal. Versus when they believe you, the objections will look like, hey man, Nathan, I want to pick this option. This is the way I want to go, but we don't have $3,000 for our deductible. What can we do? That's someone that believes you. They think this is the best deal that it can be done. I know that I have to have this. I know that I have to come up with $3,000. I need his help to do so. That is a true money objection. So when you're having a money objection and I say you didn't build trust or rapport, what you actually didn't do is build the belief, right? If they believe you, that is a big, 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 big difference than trust, in my opinion. So I think defining words in sales is massively important. Proper definition helps you achieve proper results. So last part, and this isn't just in roofing sales, this is in all sales, period. I don't care what form of sales it is. 97% of sales guys don't do this. What is the thing they don't do? Anybody?
Close the sale, ask for the sale.
Ask for the sale. So you're a sales guy and you have to get a sale, but you don't ask for the sale. I'm telling you, I've seen it in all different forms of the world of selling. If you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. Now, I'm not telling you how to ask for it. I'm going to give you a bunch of different ways that you can. Just know that at some point in time, you're going to have to ask for it.
It's kind of like the referral thing you hated because you thought it was sleazy in the beginning.
How'd you hear about that?
Videos.
Oh, you've been watching them already. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it took me, it may even been a year, but like to me, to ask for referral was just slimy, greaseball, used car salesman, mafia kind of stuff, right? Like I'm like, come on, man, I'm not this guy. I can't I'm just like, hey, you got any friends? Like I couldn't do it, man, right? And then it helped them better than the other guy. I deserve it. And I'm getting them like from the hit. Like when you get them on the day you make your pitch, you're doing pretty good. So a lot of times when you start to get them after you've done everything, but when you get them before you even do your pitch, yeah, you're doing pretty good. And it's just, man, it's so much better. It's the way to live. Because you go in, it's like immediate close, immediate more money. Like it's just like, it just gives you a pat on the back. So like, hey, babe, you're welcome. I don't know if you know this. I'm kind of amazing. Got people calling me, literally. Do you know what you married? Like, it gives you a little bit of confidence, right? So, versus say I had to go out and beg a bunch of people today. So, but 97% of sales guys don't ask for the sale. It's stupid. It's 100% true. And there's been times that I'll ask guys, I'll be like, hey, so why didn't you get the authorization? Well, they wanted to kind of think about it. I'm like, okay, so did they tell you they wanted to kind of think about it? No, they just weren't willing to sign the authorization. So when they weren't willing to sign the authorization, did you ask them? Well, no, they didn't really seem like they wanted to. What? Like, you assumed that they wanted to say, like, I assumed that you're going to say yes. Like, I just presented something really good to you. Pretty sure you're going to say yes. So, but when you don't ask for the sale, there's some real specific reasons that you don't, okay? It's because you don't make clear recommendations. You use words like, maybe, I think, or like if they have a leak and you go, it's probably coming from this. No, this is what it's coming from. Kind of like the doctor point, oh boy's not going to let me cut open and give him a hernia surgery if I think that's what he needs. You have to make a clear diagnosis. And you need to explain to them, you need to walk them through why you've come up with the diagnosis that you've come up with. It's not just a matter of, hey, this is what you need. They need to be involved with it. They need to understand it. Remember, they have to believe you. Okay? To believe you, these are things it's going to take. So your diagnosis or your recommendation, it needs to really be a statement. It doesn't need to be, hey, would you be willing to do this? No, this is what you need to do to fix your leak. Or this is what you need to do to get your new roof. It's like, it is very factual, okay? I know if I want my truck to come to a stop, I have to hit the brakes. Okay, that's actually not true. It's got all sorts of sensors, and it stops for me sometimes. Like it did the other day. This car went to go make a right turn, and I knew that it was going to be out of the way, so I wouldn't have to touch the brakes. It literally went boop, 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 and slammed on, and I was, sorry, squirrel. So once again, do not be using words like maybe, probably, could, or I think, so on and so forth. The other reason, and this is a big one, you're going to start hearing me talk a lot about this today and throughout tomorrow. The reason guys don't ask is because you haven't faced that big, scary objection. So this essentially we're talking about 99% of the time is going to be when it comes to getting an authorization. Well, let's say they gave you the objection of, I don't have the money for my deductible. You're going to go, well, see, what I want to do is just ignore that question. But look at it. Shingles versus, yeah, you know what? You're going to have to pay your deductible. Good news is, rather than the roof costing you $20,000, it's going to cost you $3,000. But yeah, you're going to have to pay that. You agreed to it. Like when you go into the doctor, do you negotiate over your copay? No, because you can't. It's the same thing. You didn't make the decision they made with their deductible. Now, chances are, they didn't really make it either. They just asked for a quote. They got their quote, and they never even thought to know. They just made an assumption, oh, it's $500. So you need to address that. Or let's say another reason, and I've seen guys do this, yeah, I only got a $500 deductible. I'm telling you right now, if someone says they got a $500 deductible, they don't know, and you better bring it up. Because when they see that paperwork for the first time that it's not a $500 deductible, guess who they're just going to magically stop talking to? So do not avoid the big objections. And something that's good to me, John 14:13-17, talks exactly about asking. Anything you ask in my name, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. Anything you ask in my name, I will do. Be surprised if you're doing everything right, simply asking the question. So again, me personally, I think Scripture almost answers, well, not almost answer, it does answer everything. And I just think that's a really good Scripture about asking. So we'll take a quick break since it's early. And I don't know about you guys, but I've already had a lot of coffee, so it's time to pee already. So we're just going to take a real quick one, and then we'll run back and then probably go a little bit longer till lunch.
Mark,
Any questions so far?
I know you're probably going to cover this, and you're going to tell me to wait.
Mm-hmm.
But there are roofers out there that say, don't worry about the deductible, we'll kind of work around that. What do we say? Like, so we're following up on somebody, or I'm sorry, we're coming behind somebody and said, well, the last guy said I wouldn't have to worry about a deductible.
Okay.
So what's our response to that?
Yeah. So that's a super awesome question. And I want everybody to be real open-eared right now and really get your listening souls on. Okay. So the question is, what happens when they say somebody else is willing to eat the deductible? So here's something to note. Deductibles, honestly, since COVID, have just kind of slowly gone up. So I haven't been doing this that long. When I started, on average, they were about $750 to $1,000. And then they went up to $1,500. And then basically now, at least in Oklahoma, and each area is different. In Oklahoma, the average is $3,300 right now, versus Colorado is $1,100. So how, when they get their roofs replaced more often and they're more expensive, is cheaper? I don't know. But generally speaking, roofers aren't doing that anymore. Okay. And sometimes homeowners may just have that assumption. Now, we do offer options. And what I mean by that is if you eat the deductible, That is insurance fraud. Point blank, period, end of story. I don't care what anybody says. Now, back in the day when they're only $500, guys would be like, hey, I'll give you a sign, like whatever, right? Like I'll give you this discount. So really easy to soak it up. You ain't soaking up $3,300 and getting away with it. Okay. You can literally look it up and see where roofers every month literally go to jail for doing it. And you actually involve the homeowner in it as well. So what is a good, not hate for, I just need a better term, but I can't think of one right now. A workaround is our options. Okay. Meaning, tell you what I can do. I can go one of two ways about this. We can handle the insurance for you. We can do all the billing, meet your adjuster. I can handle all the insurance stuff. However, that means we will be using their pricing. Whatever they say it is what it is. There ain't nothing you and I can do about it. Or if you want to try to save yourself some money, I can give you a cash price. And if that saves you money, great. But do understand, I will not speak to the insurance company. I will not look at your paperwork. I will not help you. It is all on you. So when it comes to getting that second check for $10,000, you better know how to send everything in or you won't get it. So if that's how you want to do it, cool, no problem. And we will get into it and I will teach how to do that. That is something I teach. Myself personally, and the guys who do it right, I'd say at least 95% of the time, the homeowner still goes with insurance and you don't have to worry about it. A lot of the guys present that in a manner that they go through insurance. So like I got a call from one of the guys today that did exactly that, sold a cash contract, but then she was calling us for insurance questions. I'm like, I can't help you. Like, I legally can't help you. And some people, and if you explain it properly, and be like, hey, and a lot of times it's going to come up during contracting, so you're already going to have seen their insurance paperwork. That's going to be like, hey, so on this one right here, your second check is $10,000. I know all the protocols and I know all the things I'm supposed to do to get that $10,000. I don't know if you know that. If you know it and you're like, hey, you know what, Marcus, I've done this before. I've done this a couple of times. I'm going to get that $10,000. Cool, fantastic. You're the man.
You have the cash sale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But if you don't know how to get that $10,000, I'm not going to tell you how because I literally can't. So that's why. So you're giving them what they want. The way to not handle that is what I'll see a lot of guys do is be like, well, so when you do that, like you'll start going and explaining. And when you do that, though that may be what you're doing may be completely true, the homeowner takes that as, oh, here he comes trying to do salesy tricks. So I like to present it in the form of the options. Like, cool, if you want to do that, I will do that. It's going to require this from you. It's no different than I'm well aware of. If I take my vehicle in to get some work done, it's going to cost me more to take it to them. If I'm willing to take it in myself, I'm going to save money, but it's going to require work on my part. So that's essentially what we're offering. Do you want to do the work yourself or do you want me to do it all for you? Yes, it's going to cost you money if I do it all for you. Sorry. You can do it yourself. And most people don't know. And like I said yesterday, there's been multiple times where because I was handling it, I got the homeowners more money. Or like my neighbor who literally got shorted $2,000 from the insurance company. Had we not done all we would have done, he would have had to come up with $2,000. So, and it was nothing that he did wrong. It was nothing that we did wrong. It was a mistake on their part. But because we have the processes we have and do what we do, I was able to make insurance give him that money. Guarantee he wouldn't have been able to do it on his own. Guarantee he wouldn't have.
So if they do the cash price, why would they do the cash price and work with the insurance? How are they going to benefit from that?
Because they think it's going to be cheaper. So let's say the insurance says your roof is $20,000, but my cash price is $19,000. Right? I'll save $1,000. Yes, you do. But you better know how to get all that depreciation money. And to get that depreciation money, you need to be able to send in these photos. You need to be able to send in these things. You need to be able to prove this, that, and the other. Like, there's things you got to do to get that.
So cash price, I'm working with you, owner, on an insurance claim. I take care of that, and I work with the insurance company. So in that, therein lies the difference of, do you want to deal with your insurance company, or do you want us, the experts, to deal with your insurance company? And we can justify that expense.
Yep.
Okay. So there is a cash price versus the insurance claim price? Okay.
Well,
Insurance claim, we just have to accept what the insurance gives. Right?
correct.
So if they do the cash price, like you said, if we offer 19, the insurance says we're willing to do 20, and the insurance is going to pay the 20 minus their deductible. So basically, as a result, they're going to pay $1,000 less than their deductible.
That's exactly right.
That's what so they're going to do a ton of work for $1,000.
Correct. And sometimes it's even less than that. So, but then also they do the ton of work incorrectly. It's actually going to cost them money. So, and like I said, the best analogy, and I use this with homeowners all the time, is that car analogy. If I take it to the dealership, it's going to cost me more money. If I do it on my own, it's going to take a lot of work. And maybe I do the work wrong and end up having to take it to the dealership anyway. Now I've double paid. So it literally is that. Granted, car guy, I haven't found a better circumstance. And almost every time, like if they're having a hard time figuring out what I'm saying, I use that. They're like, I don't work on my own cars. Well, there you go.
Do we ever have difficulty with insurance justifying our price?
No. Well, I mean, so I actually have a friend of mine who is a manager in the claims department for his insurance company, and him and I talk all the time. You know, he'll see things and he hates it, and we don't do these things where a roofing company will start just inflate all the prices they can and see what they can get away with. We don't do that. We use Xactimate. If we're doing this work, this is what I'm charging you. This is what Xactimate says. Period.
Exactly.
So we literally never argue with an insurance company over price because we don't try to. We're not trying to do anything. Like to me, it's like, okay, so let's say it's a $20,000 roof, and I argue all day long, I get $21,000 out of it. Like, it's not worth the argument. My reputation, the homeowner's roof not getting done while we're having the argument. No, like it's $1,000. At the end of the day, get it done, move on, get the next one. Like, who cares?
We'll take a break.
Yep, knock yourself out.
It surprised me how much my roof was. You know, so I have a single level house. It's all ranch, and then my shop. And I was telling John it was like $33,000 for the roof.
Oh yeah. So
Dodge, and then on the house, and they did my little bullshit.
Each area has its own pricing, right? And like materials alone last year went up 4 different times. I think I may not be exact on the numbers, but I think from this time last year to now, it's probably about 31% increase in price. So, but that's just the materials.
Right.
Labor's has gone up as well. So, and our guys honestly were pretty good. We didn't get a labor increase till way later, but we did get it.
You've already addressed that. Yeah, and I even told Angela, I said, hey, I said, I don't anticipate it being a problem, but because we'll try to keep it careful. I said, but if you hear anything about us having a decent number on flex, it's because I'm gonna try to move some. I'm gonna try to get some guys to get it. So.
Clearly can't survive without more coffee. Well, what are you boys thinking so far?
So far, so good. I'm trying to make a comparison to real estate because it was really cool. We had like typical objections and then you had logical answers for those objections. So I'm going to guess in this business, you're going to hear several of them the same way over.
Watch out behind you. Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. But as you, like I said, as you get better, those quote unquote typical objections will go away. Well, I'm just gonna let him not be here today. Be responsive, you stupid internet.
Is he on there?
Nope.
Right.
Don't know what happened to him today. All right. So we all good? All peed up and refilled? So now we're going to talk about the process. So this is going to be super important for you to know and understand because you have to walk the homeowner through the process. And a lot of the times on day number one, they're going to be asking you questions like, hey, what does the process look like? And you need to be able to tell them because like I said, on average, how long does this insurance process take? 3 to 5 weeks. Right. So this is the one that I know everybody always looks at me like, are you serious? Like, you're trying to tell me I can be 100,000 plus earner and you think that you need to teach me how to say hi. Yes, I do, because you're going to screw it up. Like 100% you're going to, especially those first couple door knocks. You're going to have all this crap running through your head and you're literally going to screw up the hi. Okay. You just are. If you haven't seen this movie, and like over half the guys in the last 2 trainings hadn't seen this movie. That's how young the majority of the crew is. I'm like, I hate all of you. I feel worse as a person. And I've had many guys tell me, you remind me of my dad. And I immediately knew they didn't mean personality. I knew they meant age. I'm like, you're fired. So, but anyhow, so it sounds simple. It sounds like, yeah, duh, no kidding. But I promise you, you will screw this up. And especially when it comes to the door knocking, we're going to touch on it more and I'm going to move on. Literally, probably the most important part of knocking on that door is the immediate how you say hi. Like, because 99.9% of what they're going to judge in that immediate reaction is, are they speaking to a human or are they speaking to a scared, terrified little salesperson? So don't be a scared, terrified little salesperson. Don't be Tommy Boy. Okay. So the inspection. seriously, if you need me to explain the inspection at this point, you didn't pay attention whatsoever yesterday or today. So the question is it you? Is it me? It's totally you. It's not me. All right. So when I told you yesterday, when you are doing your inspection, this is going to be the property inspection checklist. As you can see, there's many things on here. So you will have access to this like we've talked about before, but there's going to be things on here. You're going to go, what the crap is that? Because I didn't discuss the things that aren't common. Okay. Literally pull up Google, type in, what is a box vent? Oh, it's that. Like, don't overcomplicate it. There's nothing on here that isn't too intimidating. When you get to a point, we do have this in an editable format where you can fill this all out digitally. When you are starting, my recommendation is going to be that you have multiple printed out so that you can check them off as you go. Otherwise, you're going to drive down the road, try to check it off, and be like, oh crap, I didn't check that. Oh crap, I didn't check that. Oh crap, I didn't check that. So, and also all the things on here, as a helpful hint, take a picture of. Okay. The pitch. Were you paying attention to anything this morning? You should know what the pitch is, but the pitch is the next part of the process. After the pitch comes about the authorization. And if you're thinking, what the crap is an authorization? Don't worry, we haven't talked about it yet, so it's okay that you don't know. But after the pitch comes the authorization, okay? So this picture right up here is what the authorization is. So we're going to spend quite a few minutes on this slide here because this is super important. This is essentially step number one, very beginning of the sale, okay? Now, this in itself doesn't actually make or guarantee you any money. All this says is there's a homeowner, there's a claim, and you are the roofer working for them. That's all it says. Rather, they've already had a claim and they've been looking for a roofer, or rather, they made a claim right then and there with you for the first time. Doesn't matter. It says, here's a homeowner, here's the claim, you guys are working together. That's what it says. Make sense? So, when I say this is the first part of the sale, there is no dollar amount on here. There's no contract amount. You're not saying, hey, I have to build your roof regardless of the price, because that would obviously be really ungood to do to somebody, and it's also an untrue statement. So from a legality standpoint, this really does do nothing. Aside from some insurance companies will not speak to you if you don't have this, okay? And it really boils down to, is the adjuster or whoever you're dealing with an extreme rule follower or not? Once you get to know these adjusters, they'll be like, yeah, Lincoln, I've seen you a million times before. No big deal. Yeah, cool. Other ones are going to be like, before you and I get to talking, John, I'm going to need to see your authorization form. Otherwise, you stay in your truck and you be like, they'll be that way.
So this is what authorizes us to
Work on the homeowner's behalf. Yep, correct. So, and between you and the homeowner, it's basically just a good old boy handshake. Is really all it is. So, and there's even a part on here that says, if your insurance company denies this storm damage in its entirety, this agreement becomes null and void and the customer is under no obligation to the property. So it even tells you, hey, don't worry about it. It's just you and me shaking hands. So, however, what I do want you to know is if there is a blank on the page, you dang sure better have it filled out. Pretty self-explanatory, but sometimes I feel like I have to address that, okay? So this is not a claim if you have everything filled out, but you don't have a claim number. Or if you have everything filled out, but you don't have a signature. It's not an authorization unless it's all filled out. Make sense? So these things right here are what we're going to go over, and these are the keys that you need to have on every authorization form, okay? And those are keys from reminders to you, reminders to the homeowner, reminders to the insurance company, whatever. These are very important things that you need to have on absolutely every single one of them, okay? First and foremost is the storm date, okay? The date in which you say the storm happened is very, very, very important. I have seen claims that if a homeowner filed on their own or whatever, get denied, not because there wasn't damage, but because there wasn't damage the day the homeowner said there was. Now, this is one of those deals. An adjuster that's not a complete you know what is just going to come out and be like, this is the date you meant. I got you covered. But there'll be others who be like, nope, it happened the day before that, so I don't know why this is here. Claim denied, which is stupid. It shouldn't happen, but nonetheless. So it's very, very, very important. So how you pick your storm date. It needs to be within the year. Okay? So right now we are, what are we, May 7th? It would have to be May 6th of 23 and newer.
So what happens if it's, I hear you, and we're working in the neighborhood,
Mhm.
and they say, well, I've been meaning to get around to that, and I said, when does it occur? And they said, well, we had a storm back in June. That's all we got. It could be July, it could be August. What do we do when it's older?
We're going to, very next thing I'm going to go over.
Okay.
So you guys are going to have a weather app that you type in the address and it gives you all the dates that have happened. So you are going to pick, it needs to be, again, within a year, the worst storm within that year, the largest hail and the largest wind, whatever that may be. You know, so if that was a storm that happened yesterday, great. If a storm happened yesterday, but the storm that happened 5 months ago was bigger, that's the date you're using. You use whatever date in that past year had the largest hail and or highest wind speed, period. Make sense? Okay. Next is going to be your reason for filing the claim. Now, every time you call in a claim with a homeowner, you are going to get asked this by the insurance company. They're going to say, what made you call in the claim, or what did you notice? So, for example, if it's wind damage, you're going to say missing shingles. If it's hail damage, you'll say there's impacts on the roof and granule loss. You're going to say whatever pertains to their roof. Because basically what they're asking is, hey, did a roofer just come and knock on your door and talk you into this, or do you have an actual problem? That's legit what they're getting at, okay? And if you got missing shingles, like that's like telling someone, that's like having to explain to someone they have a flat tire. Like if you look at a flat tire, you may not know how to fix or anything about it or how to put on your span, but you know the tire's flat. Same thing with a missing shingle. That's kind of what you need to think about. You need to write something in a manner of, if you're a homeowner and you know nothing about a roof, how do I say this? Okay? And the next part of that I'm going along with that is for the reason you always have storm damage. You do not say hail damage. You do not say wind damage. You say storm damage, point blank, period, end of story. And let's say it's whoever from the insurance company, and they say, well, is it wind or is it hail? It's storm damage. Okay, I understand that, but there's a box I have to fill in on my computer screen. Which box do I fill in? The wind and hailstorm that came through had both. Okay, again, but Marcus, which one is it? It's both. Pick one. Okay, you do not say just one or the other. Reason being, if they see wind and hail damage on the roof, they can say, hey, this side of your roof is covered for wind. This side of your roof is covered for hail. That's two claims. No, I'm sorry. On this date, it had wind and it had hail, both, AKA it was a storm. So you always say storm damage. Then you're going to have your info and the adjuster info. And the reason you want to put your info on there is pretty easy because you want them to have your info. And we're going to get into other tricks about how to get your info. But when I say adjuster info, what you want to write on here is adjuster name and leave it blank. Now, sometimes when you call in the claim, they're going to give you the adjuster right then and there. But a large majority of the time, they're going to say, hey, an adjuster is going to contact you within 24 to 48 hours. You just want to write in adjuster name, blank spot, date and time, blank spot.
Date and time you called?
We'll get there in a minute.
Okay.
Because we're going to go into, and basically what that adjuster date and time is for the next step, which we're going to get into literally on the next slide. So, does anybody have any questions? Oh, yep, there is one I didn't go over. It's right here where you got your yes and no's. And it says areas damaged. You need to pretend this says, does this roof or does this home have these things? Okay. I don't care if it does or doesn't have damage. I care, does it have these things? Let's say the adjuster comes out and he finds damage on the siding that you didn't see. Well, if he sees that you circled no, well, he was going to pay the homeowner that, but now you and the homeowner didn't see it, so he's going to keep that to himself. So if it has it, I'm circling yes. Doesn't necessarily mean that I see the damage, but when I send this to insurance, I don't want to say no to something that they said yes to, and now they don't have to pay the homeowner. Okay? So like on this particular house, the only thing it didn't have is a skylight. And generally speaking, if you look at all my authorizations, it's going to have a no on skylight. The other thing it'll have a no on is gutters. Other than that, it's like I'm not doing anything but saying yes, it has these things.
Doesn't that work, against us when the question at the top is damage?
No, it is not. No.
Okay.
Because you're explaining to the customer that way. Because this isn't a contract. This isn't the homeowner saying, hey, you have to replace all these things with me. That's you and the homeowner telling the insurance company, this is what we have said. So like, for example, let's say when you call in the claim, you said, hey, the date was 5/14, and they go, nope, we have here 13. It's like, well, I have on a piece of paper that when the homeowner and I called it in, that we both signed on, that we told you guys the 14th. If you got it wrong on your end, that's not my fault. Here is a date, time stamped, when we said it. It's your problem, not mine. So this is only to defend your homeowner. This is not to entrap your homeowner or us in any way. This only helps you and the homeowner, period. It cannot be used in any other way. Promise you. Okay? So
this is not like their inspection that they're going and say,
No.
hey, you said damage. Okay.
No. Yep. This really means nothing to the end. They can only use this against you in the sense of, oh, you didn't think this was damaged. So, and not that they would, but again, depends on how much of a rule follower the guy you're dealing with is. So the important part of these keys right here, this is basically stuff that you need to be real detailed or really crystal clear with your homeowner. Okay? Because these are a thing, what does happen next, and the reason you put the adjuster name and info in there is they are going to get a call from the adjuster. And they may get a call from the adjuster that is going to grill them on these things. That is why we want it all written down so that the homeowner says all the same things that we said whenever we called the claim in. Because you're going to be calling the claim in with your homeowner. When you do these, you don't just say, okay, here's all the things, and I'll make the phone call. No. You're going to call the insurance company right then and there with them from your phone. You're going to hit the speaker button. The homeowner is going to give all information. As soon as they start asking roofing questions, boom, you take over. When the adjuster calls, I want the homeowner to say the exact same things that I said without any difference. It's very, very, very important. So you're going to let them know the next steps, which is the next part of the process. Okay? And in a case after the authorization, the next steps is going to be, hey, within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to get a phone call from the adjuster. He's going to set an appointment with you. I don't care what he says. I don't care if he says it's Sunday at 1 o'clock in the morning. All you have to do is write it down and send me the information. And that's why we put it on there. But this right here, if you've gotten the inspection, if you've done well on the pitch, if you've got the authorization, this right here is the next thing that most salespeople will fail miserably at. And it will cost you immensely. You need to let the homeowner know next. You need to be aware that the next thing that happens, you're not going to be there. And you have to alert them for anything that may or may not happen, so that when it does happen, they're cool, calm, and collected. Right? So your job is to keep this easy for them. If it's not easy for them, you're not doing your job and they don't need you. Does that make sense? Because we've already established that Mother Nature did the damage. Insurance companies giving them money. So the only purpose you can serve is to make this easy.
When you say inform them of the next steps we're getting ready to go into, or just walking them through this process?
Whatever. So we're going over the process. In the case of an authorization, the next step is the adjuster is going to call you in 24 to 48 hours. And that's what you're alerting them of. Okay? After that, your next step is follow up. And here's something you need to know. And this is an even worse stat than asking for the sale. And this is all of sales industry. 98% of salespeople never follow up. 98%. Guess who is not one of the top earners? A guy not following up with homeowners. Okay? And here's where it gets even worse. Of the 2% that actually do follow up with their homeowners, 67% of those guys are only going to follow up one time. Well, as we've already discussed, this is a 3 to 5 week process. There's going to be a lot of times you need to follow up. So you better follow up the first time, and you better continue to follow up. Now, does that mean if you don't, you won't get a sale? No. Success is a horrible teacher. You will still win somehow, but you're going to lose more. I promise you. And by not following up, that whole referral thing that I was telling you guys about, you won't get it.
That's what earned you 4.9.
Yep. So, how does the follow-up start? The follow-up is going to start immediately when you get into your vehicle. Not tomorrow, not the next day, immediately when you get into the truck. And here's what you need to know about all of your follow-up. Why am I following up? As a salesperson, why do I follow up?
So that they go with you and that they want to work with you, streamline that process.
Yep. But why do I want to follow up?
So I can actually, so you can get referrals and you can get,
Yep. Say it way more selfishly.
oh, so that way I can make more money.
There you go. I'm following up to make money.
There's money in the sales, but there's riches in follow-up.
And here's why I say that. Your follow-up is not to be a paragraph. Your follow-up is not to dance around. Hey, so how you doing, buddy? How was dinner last? Bro, I'm following up because I want money. Here's my statement. Boom. When you send a long old paragraph, you know what happens? They go, whoop, not reading that. So your follow-ups are going to be about the next step. Your follow-ups are going to be, you and I are putting a roof on your house. You will be giving me a check. Like, I'm not beating around the bush. I'm going to do my follow-up every time. I will not hesitate. I will follow up with you, and I will get all of those good benefits from it. But my follow-up is to make money. Period. And I'm not going to pretend it's anything different. And when you do, homeowners feel that. They know why you're doing it. So shut up and do it. Okay? So you're going to follow up immediately when you get into the vehicle. And your follow-up is going to look something like, hey, Lincoln, I really appreciate your time. Look forward to putting on your roof. Period. Thank you. End result, put on a roof. Following up is the same reason for informing them what's happened next. It's up the second you get in your vehicle. And it's 99.9% of the time, it's going to be a text message. Now, if you're dealing with 98-year-old Sally, probably not going to text, but 97-year-old Sally, she's on the texting. Okay? I'm telling you. So 99.9% of it's going to be text. Why am I immediately following up? Boom! Gold star to Nathan. So, but you're like, but you already filled out all your information here. Yeah, I sure did. You think they're just going to walk around in the back with that in their back pocket? No, that gets put down. They'll probably never look at it again. But I gave them my business card too. Still don't care. You shoot them a text message. You know what they're going to do? Oh, cool. This is Marcus. Saved. So when they get that phone call from the insurance adjuster, what do they have to do? They have to call me and let me know when the appointment is. Oh, I saved Marcus's number already. Oh, so this is super easy. I just have to do this, right? If you don't do that, I've seen countless guys. Well, I never heard from him. Did you immediately follow up with him? No, they call the homeowner 3 or 4 days later. Oh yeah, the adjuster actually already came out, got my roof approved. Oh, make it easy, because if you don't make it easy, guess what? They're not going to do it. Like, they honestly don't care. Like, they don't care about you making money. They really don't. Even if they really, really, really like you, most of them are going to be lazy. And I'll tell you right now, like, I'm a buyer, but I'm a daggum lazy buyer. Like, you better work for me. If I have to do the work, I don't need you. Period. So you better do the work for me. I got no problem paying more, but you better make it easy. So after the follow-up, by the way, you will be following up based off of this follow-up script that I give you. It's basically just a process, okay? You're going to follow up with a homeowner every 48 hours, period. Every 48 hours. Now, why do I say you're going to follow up every 48 hours? Why do you think that's important?
Someone else didn't come in and take it from you.
Nope. But, I mean, yes, but no. Lincoln, what do you think?
They don't slip out of the process and forget about it, I guess.
Boom. Another chance?
I'm thinking they're gonna get a call from the adjuster and not call you. So you stay in touch with them and you meet the adjuster.
So all those are correct, but there's one more. Believe it or not, built in internally, totally subconscious, homeowners believe their insurance company more than they believe you. Now, you're sitting here probably thinking, but wait a second. They pay the insurance company money, and the insurance company only makes money by taking money in and never giving money out. I only get paid if I make insurance pay, so why would they not trust me? Yeah, I couldn't tell you, but they don't. So this is going to be a 3 to 5 week process. If you don't follow up with them, they're going to automatically, instinctively think that time is because of you, not the insurance company. Versus if you're following up with them every 48 hours, even if that information is, hey, no change, still waiting, guess what? They know it's the insurance, not you. Because if you'd forgot about them, you wouldn't be texting them again. So, and again, they're not thinking that this is just all subconscious. So you are changing that subconscious. You are working against it. Because I guarantee you, their adjuster ain't talking to him every 48 hours. They're going to talk to him to schedule, and they're going to talk to him with their answer. That's it. Okay?
Now you need the scope. What does that mean?
We're going to get there.
Oh, sorry.
So, the next part of the process is the adjuster appointment. Now, you may have quite a bit of follow-up in between your authorization and your adjuster appointment. Again, you need to be doing it every 48 hours, okay? So if it's been 48 hours and it's not time for the adjuster appointment again, you're following up. And it depends on whether or not, you have the adjuster appointment, because sometimes the adjuster appointment may be 2 weeks away. You're still going to follow up every 2 days, okay? And that follow-up will be, hey, still got us down for that appointment. Do you have anything popped up in the meantime? Simple. You just keep it short and sweet, but you're going to let them know, hey, and again, it will just remind them you are not the reason for this delay. You want it seared into their brain, you are not the reason for this delay. Now, let's say it's been over 48 hours and their adjuster hasn't called them yet. You're going to say, before I call fill in the blank insurance company, I just want to make sure you have not heard back from them. Where guys will do this wrong is they'll say, hey, have you heard from your adjuster? Oh, no. You want to call them and find out? No. No, they definitely don't. And they'll tell you, yeah, sure. And guess what they're going to do? Not call. So this says, and the reason this is very important, before I call them, in other words, all you have to do is respond yes or no, and I'm immediately going to take action. If they think that there's going to be something required from them in replying to this text, they are not going to reply to you. Okay? So before I call blank insurance company, have you heard from them? They're either going to say, oh, shoot, yes, I have. I'm sorry. The appointment is such and such. In which case you go, glad I texted you so I can be there. And you're going to get that. Or they're going to say, no, I haven't. And you're going to respond with, fantastic, I'll call right now. And then once you've called them, you're going to text them back, hey, called them, left a message. Or, hey, called them, this is the appointment date, et cetera, okay? But again, every 48 hours. So I'm giving you the process. Depending, you could have to follow up many times in between the process. I'm just going over what's next. So after the authorization, the next thing comes up is going to be the adjuster appointment. Now, there's many different philosophies to the adjuster appointment. I'm going to give you the wrong ones. I'm going to give you the right ones. Okay. The guy that trained me, as well as the way you probably see it on most YouTubes, is really combative with the adjuster. I don't find that to be beneficial, okay? For a couple reasons. You're going to see this guy again. Like, you're going to see him again. And it's not right, but your relationship with that adjuster will make a difference on whether or not they approve the roof a large majority of the time. That is not right. The roof is the roof is the roof. God damn it, it's got, like, it shouldn't matter, but it does. I had a guy in particular who denied me over and over and over again until he got to know me. Then all of a sudden, he just magically started approving my roof. He will approve my roof without even getting on it sometimes. That's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. But it is what it is. So the guy that trained me, he was having just as many authorizations as I was, but I was getting way more approvals than people. He's like, hey, how come you're getting the same guys in the same companies, you're getting more approvals than I am? Well, I don't treat them the way you treat them. Well, but Marcus, they're wrong. Cool. Would you rather be right or get paid? I'd personally rather get paid. I don't care about being right. If I cared about being right, I would have to live in a different home because I'm never right. Okay? All right? So you need to make a friend out of that adjuster. And you're going to have, like, when you get the vibe, like I've had plenty of adjusters that bought roofs, like I got the vibe that they want to know part of me. They'd rather me just stay back, don't say words. Cool. That's what I'm going to do. Then you got the other guys that are like, I want to beat on my chest. Tell me how awesome I am. Oh my gosh, you're so good. You've been working out, bro. Look at those arms. Like, I don't care. I'm going to be what you need me to be because I'm there for my homeowner. I'm helping my homeowner. I'm not helping myself. Period. Right? And you can watch some videos, and I even have some about how to get set up for an adjuster. I would recommend you get there early. You need to be there at least 15 minutes ahead of the time. Because if an adjuster gets, like, I got certain adjusters, I know this old boy's going to be 30 minutes early every time. So I got to get there 45 minutes early. You need to beat your adjuster by 15 minutes so that you can get your ladder set up, get on the roof, reacquaint yourself, remember everything in case they ask you questions, you remember. Because again, sometimes this is going to be 3 weeks since you've seen this roof. You've already checked out many roofs in the meantime. If your brain's anything like mine, you don't have room for things. Okay? I don't got a lot of capacity in here, so I gotta choose what goes in and out, right? So you're going to get up there, you're going to get reacquainted. And kind of a little quick tip, if the adjuster uses your ladder, you're probably doing okay. If the adjuster's like, I'm going to set up my own ladder, he's going to be a tough one, right? Because the rule, every single adjuster's rule, I don't care what insurance company it is, they're not allowed to use your ladder. Like, everybody's rule. Trust me. But come on, they do 10 of these a day. If they can save themselves taking a ladder up and down, they're going to. If they don't save themselves that, they are a rule following son of a gun, and guess what? Less likely to. So, you want them to use your ladder. If they do, that's a good sign. And if they don't use your ladder, you see them going out. What I've always done is, shoot, I put my ladder in the best spot. Let me go move it real quick. And I'll go take my ladder out of the way, and then I'll put my ladder up somewhere else. And by the way, if they don't use your ladder, don't get on theirs. Okay? Because that rule goes both ways. All right, make sense? So, guess what you're going to do after the adjuster appointment? That's right. You're going to inform the homeowner of the next steps. And we'll talk about what those next steps are here in a second. But after the adjuster appointment, the next steps are going to be they're going to get a scope. Okay? So in this case, what you're going to tell them is, hey, and this is different. Some adjusters are going to get down on the roof, go get into their truck, and literally cut a check right then and there. Others are going to go, hey, I'll get this sent to you in the next couple weeks. Okay? Regardless of what their time frame is, the next step doesn't change. Hear me on that. Regardless of their time frame, the next step doesn't change. And the next step is you're going to get a copy of the scope from the adjuster. And that's going to tell us, roof's approved, not approved. And if it is approved, there's going to be an estimate on that. All you have to do is send me a copy of that, and I will put together some options for you. And then we will sit down and go over them. And we're going to get into why that is so important to say it that way. Once again, you are going to get the estimate from them. I need you to send it to me so I can put together some options for you. And then we can sit down and go over. Once again, you are telling them what happens next. You're not asking them questions anymore. You only ask the question the one time. Everything else from here on out, you're telling them what happens next. Okay? People don't like making decisions. So you're giving the decision to them. Okay? Now, a large majority of the time, after you inform them of the next steps, you're going to follow it. Because more than likely, it's going to be about a week or so before they get it. And remember, once your follow-up starts, it continues every 48 hours until that roof is built and done. Period. So, whatever time fits in there, changes your follow-up. Okay? So, the scope. The reason this is the next big loss for most sales guys is not informing them what happens next when the next thing is the scope. Okay? The scope is meant to be big and scary. Scope, aka the estimate. Okay? Get a scope and need help figuring it out. How do you think a homeowner who's never seen this before figures it out? It is meant to be confusing. You don't want them to get that big confusing piece of paper that has very large dollar amounts on it without a real comforting, cool, calm, hey, I got your back, buddy. Okay? So when we tell them I'm going to get a copy of it so I can give you some options, here's how they take that when they see that big scary number. Oh, Marcus said he's going to give me options, so this big number doesn't mean anything. What you don't do is say, hey, I need to see it so I can put the contract together. That means, okay, all he's going to do is tell me this big scary number, but with his letterhead on it versus my insurance company. No. Okay? And when I say options, we're going to go deep into that here in a little bit. You always give options. Where so many guys go wrong is they think, hey, this is an insurance deal, I can give this guy options. Absolutely not. You give options. The day I started giving options, I almost never gave another discount, and I 92% of the time got upgrades. Just by giving options. Only thing I think. But trust me, it works. Listen to me. If you don't want to, that's fine. You can do wrong. So we're going to get somewhat a brief rundown of what the scope looks like. And again, the scope, aka the estimate, aka lots of other things. Call it what you want to call it. Generally speaking, it's called a scope. Okay. If you talk to our insurance manager, you're going to hear him say scope. This is what he does. Okay. So first page is always going to be, hey, here's our information, here's homeowner information, yada yada yada. It's just going to be like, hey, is this the right person? Do I send this the right address? Then these are all the big scary things, okay? Like on this particular scope, there was, I think, probably 12 pages of this, okay? And then you have your big dollar amounts. So they're gonna see this. This is what most of them are gonna see. Okay, so my roof costs $16,000 and they're only giving me $10,000. That's what the majority of homeowners are gonna see. That's how they're gonna see it. That's why you need to understand how important it is to inform them of the next step from the adjuster appointment. Because he is going to read this wrong. That is not what this means. This actually means that his first check is $6,000 or $5,900 and his second check is $10,000. That is not how they are going to read it. Mm-hmm. Correct. Well, if you're cool and friendly with the adjusters, most of the adjusters, once you get to know them, are going to send you a copy as well. But if it's a new guy or, it's a heavily, if it's a new heavy storm area and they got out-of-state adjusters coming in, no, it's only going to go to the homeowner. So, majority of the time, this information is going to go to the homeowner. You are going to need the homeowner to give it to you. Okay? Which is, again, why it's so important to inform them after the adjuster appointment. Because they're going to see this big, scary number. And this is where a majority of guys just all of a sudden get ghosted. And they get ghosted because they did not inform the homeowner of this big, scary thing. Okay? They did not inform the homeowner. This piece of paper is meant to terrify you. They want you to see this and go, oh no, and no longer ask for their money. That's what they want. Okay? So, after the scope, guess what? Inform them the next steps, which is just repeating, I'm going to take a look at this and put some options together, then we will sit down and go over it. The important part here is, then we will sit down and go over it. I'm not asking you, hey, what's a good, I'm saying, listen, I'm going to do this, and this is what's going to happen. We have a guy in one of our states that for 3 months, kept not listening and just emailing off the options and the quotes to customers. Do you think you're going to send someone an email for $20,000 and have near as good of a close rate as you are if you're sitting down in front of them? And I kept telling him, he's like, and he would say, but man, Marcus, they live 30 minutes away. Cool. So you're saving some gas money, I get it. But how are you paying for gas? Because you're not closing it. So I literally finally got him to start sitting down and a 1 week close previous. I mean, he was losing deal after deal after deal because he refused to go sit down. I don't know why. So you will sit down with the homeowner and go over this. And here's the best way to set the appointment. So you're going to follow up with them, and this is how you set the appointment. This is what your text message looks like. Do not deviate from this. I hate scripts, but I'm telling you right now, this is dadgum gold. Okay? Pay such and such. I got some options put together for you or you guys. Here's a little pro tip for you. Why do you say you guys? Because if there's a husband and wife involved, the best thing that you can do is form a group text message. Because here's what happens if you only communicate to one of them. Well, now there's lots of, so you're adding communication. Homeowners are lazy. They don't want lots of communication. But then the other part that's so crazy, if you form a group text message, the objections that you hear behind your back, they'll literally just have in front of you on that group text message. I've literally got, hey, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. I'm right here with you. Like, it's crazy. So have that group message. Trust me. Do not, even if only Sally's dealing with it or only Jim, like if you're like, Marcus, Sally's the only one making decisions here, I don't care, inform Jim too. Like I'm telling you, it is a wonderful little trick. Okay. So I got some options put together for you guys. What's a good time to sit down and go over them? I can do blank at this time on this day or blank at this time on this day. You do not say what's a good time and then nothing. How many of you have ever asked your wife, hey, where do you want to go eat? And then like 8 hours later, you still haven't made a decision. Hey, babe, do you want this or this? People don't, like there's a reason, I don't know if you guys know this, Mark Zuckerberg, you heard him, really rich guy today, and he doesn't want one of his decisions to be wasted on what he's wearing. This is typically going to be middle of their day. Don't make them make a decision. Give them an option. And this is only going to happen because this is only going to be responsive in two ways. They're going to say this time, or neither one of those times work. Can you do this? Cool. Yeah, I can. So even if you go, Marcus, this was my first contract. I literally have the next 30 days open. I don't care, freaking pick two. Okay? And I'll do what I'll do. If you're going to do the same day, that's fine. If you're going to do different days, that's fine. I'll pick like a lunchtime and an evening time. And by this point, you should know what times are generally better for your homeowners. So offer a time that you think will work for them. And then also, you're establishing another really cool thing in your subconscious and in their subconscious. They're on your time. Most sales guys are like, I'll do whatever, I'll do whatever. No, listen, I will do whatever on my terms. Like, I'm a professional. You ain't the only one I'm dealing with. Like, when you go to the doctor, he doesn't make an appointment time based on your availability. You got to be good for him. That's how you want to be as a salesperson. Okay? So, after you set the appointment, guess what? That's right, this contracting day. Show me the money. Cut the check. Get paid. And I also made a deal with my wife. Any day that I sold 2 contracts in one day, I had to bring her home Andes. So she used to always call me and be like, hey, did you sell 2 contracts today? And I'd be like, hey, I know you're really just asking if I'm going to bring you home Andes. So why don't you just tell me what you want? Because you know I did. Ice cream. And whenever I stop selling and start doing this, she's like, hey, what's the new sale? I still haven't given her that definition because I'm tired of going to Andy's every day, man. Like I said, I learn from my mistakes, boys. So just a little bit of an example of what a contract looks like. And once again, guys, do understand every single form we have digital as well. You'll be starting out on forms and you'll be able to move to digital. 99% of the homeowners prefer to go digital. So be adaptable. If they want paper, do paper. If they want digital, do digital. Do whatever's good for them. So, but again, just kind of like a little bit of an example of what a contract looks like. Okay. And I'm not going to get real deep into this because by the time you guys get your first one, trust me, I'm going to have to, or Josh or your manager, somebody's going to have to go over the first couple of them with you. It is what it is. Okay. And then guess what happens after the contract? You guessed it. You inform them of their next steps. And after the contract, let me tell you what that looks like. And when I say after the contract, in other words, before you leave the home. So just to be clear, because I don't think I did say that, when you're informing them in the next steps, you're still in whatever this action is. Before you leave, you're going to let them know what happens. You want them to know what's happening when you two aren't together. Okay? You need to understand what happens when you separate from a homeowner. They're up to their own devices. It's like a little kid, right? Or like our little chihuahua that we're training. I accidentally fell asleep last night, and he's only 6 months old, and he went and pooped in the corner because I was asleep and I didn't know he's asking to go out at the door. So you need to understand what happens in those scenarios. But you know what? I passed out. I don't know what to tell you. So what it looks like in this particular case is after the contract, all right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to submit all of this to the insurance company. We're going to tell the insurance company, hey, me and Jerry, these are the things we're doing. These are the colors we're doing, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm going to tell them, because everything on this scope here, basically those are codes, okay? I'm going to say, hey, we're doing this code at this thing, yada, yada, yada. If I do all of these things, will you pay Jerry this amount of money? And we will wait until they confirm with us. Because I don't want to make an assumption that they've done everything on their scope right. Because if they did make a mistake, actually you and me are the ones that have to catch it. So I'm going to make sure that second check that they have coming for you, that $10,000, I'm going to make sure that you get that money before I start. Does that make sense? Generally speaking, this is about a 2 to 3 week process. They're going to have this from me within 24 hours. But they have some time to respond to me. As soon as they respond to me, we will order materials and start building this thing. So it's really important, once again, that you inform them this, because if you don't, to them, I just signed a contract with you, I just gave you a check. Any delay in time now, this is your fault. No. We're still waiting on insurance. And if they don't know that, left to their own devices, they're going to go poop in the corner. We don't want them to poop in the corner, okay? So, after you do that, you need to submit the job. This is celebration day. This is basically, you're telling everybody at the office all the things that need to happen. You're letting everybody know, I just made some money, and it's a good thing, okay? Here's the cool part about the job submittal, the plus side and the downside. The way you guys get paid is absolutely unreal for the amount of work that you have to do. Meaning, most contractors that get paid the way we do, or sales guys that get paid the way we do, they have to do cradle to grave. So you would actually then have to go to the insurance company, do all the battling, get all the approvals, then order the product, then schedule the crews, then schedule the delivery. With us, you don't have to do any of that. Once you get that contract signed, you just submit to the office and you say, hey, here's what we're doing. This is what we've agreed to. Here's all the information. See you later.
We can do what we do best.
Yep. Now, here's the downside to that. If you don't submit the job, guess what happens? Absolutely nothing. Insurance doesn't know. Production doesn't know. Your paycheck doesn't know. Because you don't get paid until the job's done. And I've had guys that have held on to contracts for weeks before they submitted them. And I'm like, bro, what's wrong with you? And then I got other guys that'll schedule time off in between contracts. Like they could have 2 contracts back to back. Like, I want to submit this one before I go sell another one. I won't do that. I'll submit them all the next morning. I'm going to get as many as I can because I had to buy Andy's.
John
So
said that we get paid on authorization first few.
we're going to go over that.
Okay.
Yep. We're going to go over that real clear and vivid tomorrow. So after job submittal, guess what? Now, this is the one where guys go, Marcus, do I really need to follow up every 48 hours? Yes. But all I'm going to do is, hey, I'm still waiting on insurance. Yes. Because if you're following up with them every 48 hours saying, hey, I'm about to tell you the same thing I've told you for the last 3 days, but still waiting on insurance.
You won't be waiting on me.
Exactly. Now, All the follow-ups done, however many days that was. Now this is the best day on the planet. This is the actual build. This is literally the best day since sliced bread. This is when the fight is over for the homeowner. They need to know, or they get to get their roof. They get to get all the things. By the way, part of the follow-up before the build, no one ever told me this before my first build. Let's say it's in the middle of summer and the sun comes up at 5:30. Guess what time they're starting? 5:30. Well, no one told me that, so I didn't tell my homeowner that. So I got a phone call at 5:30 in the morning, which I missed, saying, why are they here banging and clanging on? Well, guess what? That's the way it goes in all world of roofing. Because when it's going to reach 100 degrees, they would like as many of the hours to be spent in the cool as possible. So let them know the build is going to happen at sunrise. If you don't know when sunrise is, just say sunrise. If you know when sunrise is, say sunrise at this time. Okay? So I'm going to tell you what you have to do on the day of the build, and then I'm going to tell you what I would recommend you do on the day of the build. Have to do is what you have to do. What I recommend is going to make you more money. So take it how you want. Okay? First off, this is a golden day to knock doors. This is literally money falling from the sky. When someone sees their neighbor getting a roof, you got all sorts of things that happen. You got to keep up with the Joneses. You got, okay, well, if their roof had damage, I didn't think mine had. Maybe mine does have damage. Like, it just makes it so much easier. And a really good one, like if you knock directly on the neighbors, you knock on the door. Hey, how you doing? I'm the guy causing all the ruckus next door. Do me a favor. Here's my business card. It is kind of windy today. If some trash or something gets into your backyard, please call me. I will be over here myself personally, and I will take care of that. Does that make sense? And they're like, hey, I love that. And you go, by the way, have you had your roof looked at lately? It does two things, because I actually have gotten a call back one day. Hey, I actually have a piece of trash in my tree. I went tree climbing. So I am kind of using that whole thing to get on the roof and to get another sale. But in the same hand, it is a genuine statement. I don't want you to have to deal with our mess. So aside from knocking on doors, that I guarantee, I don't think, I literally don't, I don't think I've ever knocked on a build and not gotten a sale. I literally don't think I have. Matter of fact, I've gone and knocked on other companies' builds. No, I don't lie and say, hey, I'm the one building it. I say, hey, they're getting one. I let them make their assumptions. I'm not going to lie to a customer. But knocking on builds is just, it's free money. So now what am I going to do that you don't have to do? Is I'm going to show up to that build at least one time, and generally speaking, only one time. Because I don't want to make all these promises to the homeowner and then be the guy who, as soon as I get paid, walk away. I don't want to do that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show up around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever is tear off. Meaning you'll learn over time, your crew, and based on the size of the house, how long it takes for them to get tore down to the decking. Now, why do you think I'll wait till they're tore down to the decking? Any guesses?
You can verify there's no damage under it.
Exactly right. Once they tear down to the decking, they're going to be aware of all the things that I wouldn't have been able to know. So if they need more decking, or if there's something they need, I can call up the crew. Hey, I'm on my way out. Is there anything you've come across that you need? Or they found out at this point, we're missing X, Y, and Z. We didn't get all of this delivered or whatever. So I can bring it out to them. Okay, saving me a trip for when they call me later. And then also, if they do call me later, I can be like, well, do you remember when I called you 2 hours ago and you said you don't need anything? I'm on another appointment, so go get it. Now it's on them because you did offer, right? But then, and I don't like to be negative, but this is a true statement. You made all the promises to the homeowner. You told them how we were going to build the roof. You told them we were going to strip it down all the way to the decking. You told them we were going to do underlayment. You told them all the things we were going to do. That's where you find out if they're really doing those things. So if you get there, you're going to make sure that one, they tore it all down. And then you're going to hang around for about 15 minutes and you're going to see them putting the ice and water down. And that's why I do it in the way I do it. Or you show up a little bit after and they've already put the ice and water down. And by the way, you can't put ice and water down unless you're putting it down on bare decking. So again, it keeps the crews honest. And I got a crew that I had worked with at this point a million times, literally never had an issue from them. And I was super busy that day. So I'm like, man, I'm not going to go to this build. And come to find out, they didn't tear off one layer of felt on one side. They will get away with whatever you let them get away with. Like, they just will, especially when it's freaking hot. They're dying. They know if they tear that slope off, there may be a risk they don't get it done that day. Like, all the things, right? Like, they're humans. It's going to happen. Or maybe they just forgot, right? Or maybe they didn't. So check on it. And then while I'm there in that 15-minute period, typically I'm going to encourage the homeowners not to be there. I'm going to encourage the homeowners not to be there during the build because it makes them freaking racket, right? And I'm going to let them know that. So if they're not there, I'm just going to shoot them a quick picture, be like, hey, all's going well. Here's what we're doing. Here's where we're at. So they're going to know I'm there checking it out. And again, it just keeps them knowing that I am all the things I said I am, and I'm doing all the things I said I was going to do. Make sense? So, we have any questions on the day of the build? No? Good?
Cool stuff.
Okay. So, after the build, you're going to have a walkthrough. Now, a couple key points of the walkthrough. First off, the purpose of the walkthrough is to, one, go over it yourself. Two, make sure they are happy. And once again, just like all the other parts of this process, if you feel they're kind of looking at something, but Sally's too nice and doesn't want to tell you, Sally, what are you seeing? Like, what is it you don't like? Tell me. Get it out of them. Okay? And there is a crucial setup to this walkthrough. And you can hit the record button, write this down really well, memorize it to your cerebellum. I will never do the walkthrough immediately after the roof is done for a couple reasons. One, it's probably going to be 9 o'clock at night. Not really much to look at in the dark. Okay? But then I want to instill confidence in myself and my crew. I will always tell a homeowner, tell you what, they're going to get done tonight at about 9 o'clock. Okay? We're going to give it a couple days. I'm going to let the roof settle. I'm going to let everything mull over. In that time frame, I want you guys to, I want you to really look at it. I want you to find a flaw. So in 2 days, when I come back and we go through it, we can go over any issues you have. So that lets them know, hey, this roof has to settle. Because it does, it has to lay down. Like if it's in the summer, it's going to lay down pretty quick. But if the temperatures are kind of like what they are right now, it may take a week or two for it to lay down. So that roof is going to change. But then it's letting them know, hey, if you see something, it's not a dire emergency that gets fixed right this second. Otherwise, I'd be looking at it right this second. So it just presents a calmness and it lets them also, gives them 2 days to look at it. Because if you do it right then and there, you're going to have, well, one, it's going to be dark, okay? Two, there's going to be parts of it that will lay flat, so you're going to have to come back later again anyway to make sure it laid flat. Or two, there's going to be something you didn't see and they didn't see that day, and now you're going to have to come back. So you're saving yourself a trip, and you're just instilling confidence in yourself, in your crew, and in them, okay? So if it's a Friday, I'm not going to check on it Monday. I'm going to check on it Tuesday. Because people got a lot of things going on Monday. Tuesday's typically an easier day for people, so I'll just set it up on Tuesday. The build's on a Monday, I'll go back and check it out Wednesday. that make sense? So, and on the walkthrough, when you show up, the way I always approach it and the way you should approach it is you go up to the door. Hey, tell you what, Lincoln, I'm going to take a quick look around. Once I'm done, I just want to make sure there's nothing that I see. You and I are then going to go walk around and make sure everything's okay. And the best thing you can do in your walk around before you go with them is to find something and be like, all right, so we're going to walk around. Hey, before we do, I actually found, a piece of trash over here. I've already picked it up and put it in my truck. You want to find something on your walkthrough because it shows them you were actually looking. And trust me, you'll find a piece of trash somewhere. Our crews are clean, but like you're going to find something somewhere. I promise. Make sense? So, after the walkthrough, guess what? Get paid. Now you get to collect the final check. Give me my money, right? Now, if it is an insurance deal, which again, the majority of what you do is going to be an insurance deal, they're probably not going to see that check for 2 weeks, give or take.
After the build?
After the build. So, be expecting that. Now, if it's a cash job, you're getting that check right after you walk through it. Make sense?
That's the depreciation check.
That's correct. Yep. So, here's the process written down in case you had it differently. Start with say hi, inspection, pitch, authorization, inform next steps, follow up, adjuster appointment, next steps, follow up, scope, next steps, set appointment, contracts, next steps, job submittal, follow up, build, walkthrough, get that money.
You'll send us a copy of this.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it.
Yep. So you'll get to know the process real good, but like I said, where the part where most guys cut out, and there's this thing in business, right? You'll hear guys say, man, I was doing this thing and it worked really, really well, so I stopped. Okay? You think because you were doing all the follow-ups, because you're informing the customer of the next steps, that it's just you. No, it's the things you were doing. So guys will cut out next steps, or they'll cut out follow-ups. And let me tell you, if you get ghosted a lot, do you guys understand what I mean by ghosting? Like they just stop communicating with you? I guarantee you, I can just guarantee you, you're not doing next steps. Or follow-up, or both. But typically speaking, it's next steps. Especially if you're like, man, I can never get anybody give me the scope. And you didn't inform the next steps. Make sense? Okay. Ignore that. Okay, I'm going to give you guys an option. You want to take an early lunch? Or do you want to hammer through and take a late lunch?
How about 5-minute break?
How late is a late lunch?
Like 1 o'clock.
I'd rather not take a late lunch.
Okay, all right. So we're going to go ahead and take an early one, and we'll beat the crowd. So the next option for you guys, I can take you. You can get a free lunch, or you can have an hour to yourself. How do you want it?
I'll take a free lunch.
All right. Let me see if let me give. All right, if you guys want to take 5, I'm gonna call Josh, see if he wants to come with us. What's that? No, this Josh. God, we only got 5 Joshes in the company. Know which one I'm talking about?
Young Josh?
Young Josh. I like that. That's
Old Josh, he's out of town.
You know what drove me crazy after they did my roof?
Hmm.
Is I had nails everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely driving me crazy.
Yeah, we do our
My
best.
way, my grass, everywhere.
We do our best not for that not to be a problem, but I mean,
It's still
it happens.
I mean,
There's a lot of nails, though.
there's a lot of nails coming out there too.
Hello.
Hey, buddy, we're gonna stop and take a lunch.